I've chosen a poem called Bookends by Tony Harrison, and it's from a sequence of poems called The School of Eloquence. And it's important to me for several reasons, really. I suppose Harrison was probably one of the first working class boys, even though he was already in bourgeois by grammar school by there, to try and write about the alienation of being a working class boy, but in a way that the canon school would accept. So he was subversive. He was subversive in a soft way, because he complied with the canon to write about things which hadn't been written about very well up until then. And for me, as a working class boy who came to study literature fairly late on, because I didn't go to uni till later on, when I found School of Eloquence, I just was going, bloody hell, that's amazing. It's like, here's someone who, like, I recognise all that intimacy of family and all the intimacy of class, but someone's doing it with an incredible amount of skill and craft. And it had everything I needed. It had that little bit of craft, but it was also truly authentic. And for me, when people write about class, that's the thing that lets it down. You can smell when it's not real. You can smell when it's been imposed on something. Whereas, like, Harrison's detail, I think, about the sort of tightness and the sort of mundane feel of being in a working class house with working class parents, especially from his generation, because he's 20 odd years older than I am. So you've got that real definition, almost the end of the pre-modern, because everybody forgets that, you know, like lots of working class houses were still Victorian. They were still bloody medieval in lots of ways, and I think everybody forgets that, because they think that as soon as the Industrial Revolution happens, there's this massive change, and I think that's wrong. I think, and for me, I grew up in the 70s, and even in my little terrace, it still felt like we were 100 years out of step. And Harrison was writing about not only about that sort of that awkwardness of time lag and the alienation of history, but also the alienation of culture. And I suppose that's what I like about it. Whereas, having said all that, these two poems are all about love. They're all about the dislocation of family, and dealing with death, I suppose. So Bookends, and it's the two sonnets. It's a poem in two parts. Bake the day she suddenly dropped dead. We chew it slowly, that last apple pie. Shocked into sleeplessness, you're scared of bed. We never could talk much, and now don't try. You're like bookends, the pair of you, she'd say. Hog that grate, say nothing, sit, sleep, stare. The scholar, me, you, worn out on poor pay. Only your silence made us seem a pair. Not as good for staring in blue gas. Too regular, each bud, each yellow spike. A night you need my company to pass, and she not here to tell us we're alike. Your life's all shattered into smithereens. Back in our silences and sullen looks, for all the scotch we drink, what's still between us? Not the 30 years or so, but books, books, books. And then the second poem from the sequence. Again, just something. It's about mundanity. It's about anyone who's experienced a death, and anyone's experienced the debris of post-death will understand this little bit. The stone's too full. The wording must be terse. There's scarcely room to carve the Florence on it. Come on, it's not as if we're wanting verse. It's not as if we're wanting a whole sonnet. After tumblers of neat Johnny Walker, I think the both of us were on our third. You said you'd always been a clumsy talker and couldn't find another shorter word for beloved or for wife in the inscription, but not too clumsy that you still can't cut. You're supposed to be the bright boy at description, and you can't tell them what the fuck to put. I've got to find the right words on my own. I've got the envelope that he'd been scrolling, misspelt, mawkish, stylistically appalling, but I can't squeeze more love into their stone.